The luckiest planet in the heavens, Jupiter, prosperity, abundance, wealth, growth, expansion, goodness, justice, truth is moving into his exaltation, the sign of Cancer on June the 10th. And he only does this once every 12 years. And once every 12 years for 12 months or a year, we get his blessings here. He is super strong, super powerful. In fact, the ancients considered this to be his, in Babylonian astrology, true home or true house. And we'll talk about how this might work out for you, me, and the world. Now, obviously, if you have a Cancer placement or you're a Cancer nation or you're a Cancer, sun, moon, or rising, that kind of thing, it's going to be extremely powerful. It's going to be a really good time. This is a glow up this June through to July of next year. And so I'm going to really dive into how this impacts you. We can all use a breath of good, fresh air after the last 4 or 5 years. And, after the pandemic and all of that. And having Jupiter in Cancer at this time for the world, for us individually, can only be construed as more or less positive. I will give you a couple of caveats. Number one, when he enters into the sign of Cancer around June the 10th, he is going to, unfortunately, by mid-June, come into a square to Saturn, who is now in the sign of Aries. Saturn and Jupiter squares are tense. We had one in August around the time of the Democratic National Convention. We had one in December as well. And though they were not in the same signs, Cancer and Aries, they were also still a square in our heavens. And so we felt the tension then. And those two times look like a little stock market turbulence, just to say so, in December and in August. We'll see what happens this time. But it's like he's going through a gauntlet. He has to talk with Saturn, who is about, let's get serious, let's get structured, let's get real, so that everything you do after this, after the middle of June of this year, through till the end of June next year, is going to be importantly solid. Like Saturn's got an eye to, is it realistic? Can you make it work? Is it something you want to persevere at? So I don't think it's a bad thing that Saturn is, first of all, talking to Jupiter as the first big conversation Jupiter has. I think it's going to work for us in a very positive way. Then get this, not seen since July of 1895. Yes, you heard me right. July of 1895, as we move through the month of August and September, it's exact around September 4th, Jupiter will trine the north node of fate, the lunar node, Rahu, moving through the sign of Pisces. This gives us an extraordinary glow up between Pisces and Cancer. So we're going to delineate a little touch point in our All Signs video about what you can look forward to this August and September. World astrology wise, details about how that looked back in 1895, or how this Saturn square from Cancer to Aries might have felt in the past, I'm leaving for a separate video. This is my part 1 video on this transit, and we're focused mostly on the good news for you. And I'm getting this video out just a bit ahead of this actual beautiful sky that's opening up. Recording this for my Patreon community on Sunday, May the 18th. You guys will get this probably about 5 days later. So let's talk about timing. I don't have a graphic for you today, but it would help if you wanted to know that this has happened in the past, that Jupiter has moved through the sign of Cancer. No, not with Saturn and Aries. It's not always the very same thing. And good news is Saturn will be moving back to Pisces, and there'll be a little Saturn-Jupiter trine for a very short time. So we'll have some more good stuff between those two planets. But if you want to compare your life, and I'm always about making notes from the past to make predictions for the current time or the future, you would have seen this happen already, and I'll tell you when. Roughly in June of 2013, right, until the summer or June of 2014. Summer, it's usually summer, right? June, July, August, that Jupiter begins this journey into the sign of Cancer. So think about basically, June of 2013 to June of 2014 to see if anything, good happened in your life connected to about what I'm about to describe based on your sun, moon, and rising. And then before that, 2001 to 2002, summer to summer. In this case, it was July, I believe, to July. And then in July of 1989 to August of 1990. And then in August of 1977 to September of 1978. So in essence, we can make it a simple, if you like, summer of, but it's kind of that vibe. So summer of 2013 to 2014, summer of 2001 to 2002, summer of 1989, to 1990. And then this one was actually August of 1977 to September of 1978. I know we're all going to say, oh no, 2001 was 9/11. Yes, it was. It's not always a bed of roses. Just because Jupiter's in Cancer, it doesn't mean everything's going to work out in our lives. But it does mean that for the most part, he's going to do his best to create something extraordinarily positive for you in the Cancer part of your whole sign natal sky. And we're going to delineate things today based on your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. And I'll explain the difference between those right now. Your rising sign is your character in the game of life. It's like your avatar in the simulation. The game player is the sun, but the sun you can listen to for things to do. So it's your more true self to do with your listen to the sun when you want to figure out what to do with your career and purpose matters. And your moon can be about how you feel about your character in the matrix, but also it is relevant to your home, your domicile, where you live, your domestic life, homeland, property. And often, for instance, eclipse to someone's moon can eclipse their home and they'll be moving, which I'm doing because I had an eclipse to my moon March 30th and my landlord's selling the house. She gave notice since then, and here I am, I'm moving. So first of all, I didn't say anything about who I am. I don't know why. I completely forgot. But here I am. I'm Lori Lothian. I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac, whole sign houses, and fixed stars and minor asteroids. And this is my crow. And I've had him for years. And we are here today in this story to talk about Jupiter. But before I do and give you all the good news that's fit to print, let me ask you if you're interested in knowing more about how to time your best life and be your own astrologer. Because if you are, in July into early August, I'm teaching my Sky Reader class for the 6th time, and it's going to be so much fun. Jump aboard. I always add new content. The wait list for your early bird discount notifications is in the description box, as well as the description of the course. I'll link to that description. Second of all, I have my 2025 All Signs bundles for sale. That means you've got 12 videos, each one 2 hours long, and a PDF guidebook for each of those signs, different information written by me, 12 separate different guidebooks. And that is now half price, $33. And then we've got more than half a year left. If you want to grab that content, and navigate your life quarter by quarter using those guidebooks that I've created, using the videos, please go ahead and grab it down below. And of course, you can grab it for you listening to your sun, your moon, your rising, but for sharing with friends and family, kids and husbands, wives and spouses, the whole ordeal. All right, let's get going. First of all, guess what? Years ago, before we talk about your sign, I walked into a bookstore and got Ancient Astrology Theory and Practice, and it happens to be a used book, original version, 1970s, of Firmicus Maternus. Yes, good old ancient astrologer, Firmicus Maternus. And what I love about this is that sometimes I forget to pull it out because it's such a handy little resource. And he talks about the exaltation of planets. And he says this. Now, when planets are in their own exaltations, we say that they rejoice. Whenever in a chart, the majority of planets is in the exact degree of their exaltation, and the exact degree of Jupiter's exaltation is 15 degrees in Cancer, but the whole sign is a place of his exaltation. So whenever in a chart, the majority of planets is in the exact degree of the exaltation, they indicate the greatest prosperity. All right. So in other words, if you were born with Jupiter in Cancer, you're going to have a great deal of fortune. You'll like this placement. It'll be good for you. Okay. So that's something I want you to consider. And then he also talks about the idea that Babylonian astrologers were very precisely intense on insisting that the exaltation sign for a planet is its true house. Now, we don't say that in most astrology. We say that the modern ruler, by the way, of Pisces is inaccurately Neptune, but it's the ancient ruler of Pisces is Jupiter. So that's one of his domiciles or homes or kingdoms. And the other domicile or home is Sagittarius. Jupiter rules or has domicile lordship over the sign of Sag and the sign of Pisces. But he exalts the sign of the moon, the temple of the moon. And so one of the things about this doctrine is that it's interesting to think about the moon having her temple or her kingdom in the sign of Cancer, and Jupiter having one of his kingdoms in Pisces. And the relationship between Cancer and Pisces is a trine. A trine is an angle of 120 degrees. That's the nature of Jupiter. And so it's like he can flow to the temple of the moon from his Pisces kingdom And therefore he gets special homesteading rights over in the sign of Cancer, which belongs to the moon. Another thought is Jupiter rules children, and the moon is the archetypal mother. And also, the idea of spiritual liberation or moksha is coming through the water signs of Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer in a traditional Aries rising zodiac. And so that would indicate houses 12, 4, and 8. Well, guru, dispeller of darkness, spiritual awareness, and awakening, traditions of spiritual knowledge belong to Jupiter. So, of course, it makes sense that he would have a special affiliation with one of the other moksha houses, in this case, the Cancer moksha house. Okay, so there's some thoughts for you. Okay, exaltation, what does it mean? Superpower. Super strong, super amazeballs. However, I've noticed that exalted planets are on a pedestal and they tend to fall. When Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, he falls in the opposite sign of Capricorn. And the interesting part is if you're born with a fallen Jupiter in Capricorn, it means often you have an exciting time as he somehow managed to act as if he's risen to Cancer. Or those of us with exalted planets, like, the moon's exalted in Taurus or Jupiter's exalted in Cancer, Saturn's exalted in Libra. Well, those planetary placements give you superpowers, but also quite often a tendency for pedestaled life, a life of being in some kind of superlative success that then leads to often disappointment, fall, or difficulty. So don't be upset if you have a fallen planet. It's not the end of the world. I'll teach a class on planets in fall. It's part of my Sky Reader. We talk about how to understand the fallen and exalted planets in your chart. So let's get going and do each sign. And here's what I'm going to say for you in my first video on the Jupiter story. I'm going to talk about how you come into an early roadblock or constriction or difficulty. For Jupiter, fairy godfather, Santa Claus, ho, 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 good guy, wants to expand what he touches, is ready to roar through that Cancer sky and give you something good. But then around June 14th, 15th, but then you can say kind of most of June, he's feeling a vibe of talking to Saturn, who's in Aries behind him. And this could feel like it's almost like a racehorse getting to run, but they have to wait for some reason. Like Chronos, time, steadfast, active forbearance, perseverance, caution is Saturn. So there's almost like Jupiter's like, leap and the net will appear. And Saturn's like, wait a minute, dude, like, let's be serious, let's be realistic, let's be careful. So there's going to be a part of your life in the month of June where you're going, what is she talking about? Jupiter's exalted. This isn't so hot after all. I'm telling you, it doesn't feel that way in June, not necessarily because of the Saturn square. However, it will feel a lot better, a lot more juicy, a lot less difficult once we move into the aftermath of that square, especially as we move towards August and September, those whole 2 months, epicenter September 4th, where Jupiter begins to aspectually trine the north node of increase, of volume up, of worldly success in the sign of Pisces. So don't despair if things feel a little bit icky in the very beginning. That feeling will not prevail. Let's take a look at the chart and I'll show you what's going on. And then we'll do your sign. And the next video I put out on this, we'll talk a lot more about what the world might experience from this transit. For instance, the nation of Canada is a Cancer rising. It should look pretty good on Canada. So let's see what happens. Because we're facing, but also the nation of Alberta, who's threatening to separate from Canada, is also a Cancer rising. So we see a lot of intensity in Canada with this Jupiter transit, but we'll do another video on that. Now, I have us in 1978, which is not where I wanted to be. So let's go to the now. And don't forget, I already introduced in the video to think back in time to basically, summer of 13-14, summer of 2001 to 2002, summer of 1989 to 1990, and summer of 1977 to 1978, because that's when we last saw these occurrences over and over again, right? When Jupiter was busy doing the same thing. All righty, so one of the things I would say is that you can consider that the patterns in the past are never exactly the same, for the simple reason that outer planets in particular are in all different places in the sky. And therefore, try not to exactly say, oh no, my life fell apart in, 89, 90, summer to summer, and make a big story about that, because it doesn't necessarily rinse and repeat exactly. When I do your sign, I'll explain the meaning of the whole sign house. And if you don't know how to cast your chart in whole sign houses, check my description box. You'll need your birth time to find your rising sign. I suggest you listen for whole sign houses. All YouTube astrologers delineate as if we're using whole sign houses. We can't possibly account for your skewed latitude Placidus house. Plus, once you go whole sign houses, the ancient wisdom tradition, in order to use Time Lord tools and techniques, you need to go whole sign. You'll never go back. All right. So here we are going to look at Jupiter. I'm recording on May the 18th. He's at 25 degrees of Gemini, squaring the nodes of fate. I just put a video out on that. That's a very rare, not seen since 1858 experience. You might want to go see how that's pivoting your destiny over the last 2 weeks of May. But then, and the video is already out, but then we move forward and we watch him getting ready to cross the fence. And there he goes by June 15th. But of course, I'm moving by week. He's crossing over in Washington, D.C. time zone. He's crossing over on June the 9th. Okay, so 9th, 10th, that kind of thing. It's always a little time zone dependent. 6:27 p.m. on June the 9th. If you live in England or Europe, it's going to be June the 10th. If you live in Australia, it's going to be June the 10th, I think. Yeah. So you get the gist of it. Now, he crosses over into the sign, as you can see, of Cancer down at the very bottom, down here. And as he crosses over, Mercury is waiting for him. Mercury's in a mute sign for Mercury, whether you believe in mute signs or not. It means Mercury's very quiet here, doesn't really do all of his announcing. But it's an interesting point to see that the ingress moment includes a conjunction to Mercury, because Mercury always provides some sort of information and understanding or news of some sort. And Mercury is in a square to Saturn and Neptune. There may be some kind of very big, larger than life, extremely intense story hitting the news cycle. And remember, Canada is a Cancer rising. Alberta is a Cancer rising. So the Aries Cancer energy is very activated here. I'm not going to do that part of the story yet, but the leadership of the nation of Israel belongs to the sign of Cancer, and its open enemies belong to the sign of Aries. So again, we keep seeing like world events may pop here for sure. But this is really to say, around June 9th, in your own life, there may be a little bit of a burst of difficult information or news connected to the fourth house, to the Cancer and the Aries parts of the sky. A little constriction, a little constraint, a little challenged. That's basically what I've got here. But also remember what I've already said. The main issue is Jupiter is going to be in an exact square to Saturn, closer to the 14th and 15th of June. This is especially yes, but not exact. And it kind of makes the whole month of June kind of a little bit like having a straitjacket on when you just want to go jumping high for joy and happiness because everything is going your way. Oh, no, it's not. I got a straitjacket on. Or, oh, no, it's not, especially with Neptune there. They got a mental illness here, or just something is constricting your expansion. Something is constricting your exuberant growth, but it always isn't bad. Saturn might say, are you being realistic? Yes, Saturn is in the sign of his fall, and he's with Neptune for the confusion. So poor Saturn is trying to be sober-minded, realistic, and steadfast, and he's got stuck with a fallen condition as well. So we might not be able to believe Saturn's cautionary note in our lives individually and collectively. With Neptune there especially, Saturn might be overstating his cautionary note. He might be putting red caution. Oh, the police put the yellow tape up, that caution tape. Those caution tapes might be up, but they may not be needed because of Saturn's fallen condition. Now, this is economic stuff. When Saturn and Mars do stuff together, macroeconomics, things to do with economies, governments, and banking. And so, yes, of course, we could see something bad going on in banking or economic news somewhere in the world. There's no doubt about that. That could happen as well. Now, as Jupiter continues forward, what happens is by the time we move to September, he will trine the node of fate. And that's so beautiful. I have no complaints. So let's move him forward. And we're going to get to the point where And look at that beautiful conjunction. So lucky in August. This is why I'm excited to do this year ahead now. I'll be talking about that in a separate video. Obviously, that's going to be a luscious, beautiful, super lucky conjunction. In fact, Firmicus Maternus talks about this conjunction in the most exemplary way. All right, like y'all want that conjunction. Here we are, September 9th, and you'll see that Jupiter is trining the North Node. It's exact on September 4th. That kind of means mid-August to mid-September. You really feel this massively positive uplift. You could say all of August and all of September if you want to as well, but it's really hitting the mark here. So, because if we go back to here, August the 9th, when the conjunction is happening around the 9th to the 15th of August, we'll see that Jupiter's at 13 degrees and the North Node's at 18. It's not close enough to be what we'll call engaged, right? 3 degrees is the engagement window. But by the time we move here to August 23rd, he's at 16, the node's at 18, there's engagement. So third week of August, or perhaps maybe around the second or third week of September, there's this beautiful glow between the node of worldly success and expansion and growth and destiny and faded stories in Pisces and Jupiter in Cancer in your sky. Obviously, the Cancer risings and the Pisces risings and even the Scorpio risings that trines you, all the water signs, Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and risings are going to really enjoy this. It's going to be lovely for them. But also the Sagittarius rising, Gemini rising, and also the Virgo, Sun, Moon, and rising. So those are angular, Sagittarius, Virgos, Geminis. You get a lot of pivotal turning point energy in your life. Some signs are least affected, like Aquarius. Well, it's tricky. On either side of Jupiter, you can get some challenging, not being so affected by Jupiter, but affected by the node. So we won't get too complicated. But for the nodal trine, I gave you the bestest news possible. It's complicated because, but I'm talking about those who are affected by the node of fate the most. That's what I just described to you. Now, what we're going to do is start going through each separate sign. I want to remind you that this is not your natal chart reading. You can't say to me as a general astrologer, it didn't come true. I didn't win the lottery. Because sometimes I'll say it to a sign, this looks really lucky this week. You might win the lottery. Your natal chart will say if you're going to win the lottery. Some people will never win the lottery. It's all in your natal sky. But in a general bell curve astrology, some people may have troubles with pets. Some people may lose their relationship status. Some people may blah, 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 blah. Do not take general bell curve astrology literally. It's very accurate for a lot of people, but it's general readings. You need to get a personal reading with somebody. I'm not available in order to get a specific astrological glance at your sky. That said, you can still do some general navigation using this as a tool, the general astrology. So let's start off with we're going to start with the Aries. I'm going to adjust my screen so I can rotate the chart. And we're going to end up with Pisces. And we're going to talk about how much how much lemonade can you squeeze out of life's lemons, because Jupiter is going to try to help you do it. And the North Node, especially in the summer, is going to level you up. So for each sign, we're talking about constriction June and juicy juice up August, September in a nutshell. And as this year goes by and we get to these events occurring, I'll be putting much deeper dive videos into place, talking about the asteroids, the fixed stars, and other patterns in which this stuff is repeated for each sign. So that's why if you like or subscribe or hit the notification bell, you're going to get a lot more of this kind of content as it happens and a lot more depth of detail. Let's get started with Aries. By the way, at the end of every one of my videos now, I'm creating an extra and all the intro extra, the outgoing commentary after the all signs. And it's just me babbling, but I'm talking about things that interest me, like the mandala effect, timeline jumping, things that capture my attention in astrology and philosophical stuff that I don't really think has any place in the front end of the video or necessarily even in the middle. So if you want to jump to that, all the timestamps show you what's going on, and you can see that I'll talk about some topic at the end. So for those of you interested in that kind of stuff, it's the very last thing I do after the Pisces part of the sky is red. So it's kind of more fun for me because I was doing it anyway. I'm babbling at the end, and then I realized I may as well just tell people that there's a Lori babbles at the end of the astrology video section. All right, so here we have June the 10th. I just made us 9th, 10th time zone dependent. Jupiter moves into the sign of Cancer, the fourth house for Aries. So let's go for Aries, sun, moon, and rising. I explained how to listen to each in the beginning. Go back and watch the intro. But anyway, it's an interesting time for you, Aries. You've got, the Saturnian impulse already upon you. You are realistic, sober-minded, perseverant, hardworking, disciplined. This is you. You got the Saturnian impulse ever since Saturn entered your sign, and he'll be here till September 1st. So that was like, whatever date that was. My brain's not going to think of it off the top because I wasn't thinking of doing it that way, but you've got him here. And just recently on the 25th of May. 25th of May. Yeah. So Saturn on the 25th of May in the sign of Aries all the way through to September 1st. You're going to practice being all grown up with a little bit of independence here, independent and mature energy. And as you're practicing this for your sun, your career, your moon, your home-based matters and emotions, or your rising sign, anything about you, as you're getting this sort of reality check within yourself, you're also being has to look over at Jupiter in the fourth house, who is going to want to bring you over the course of a year, like June 10th until June 30th of 2026. He's going to, this year till next year, he's going to want to bring you something very good. Now, in the intro to this video, I told you, everybody, please go back and look at the past. This is your home, property, land, real estate, legacy wealth, expansion, growth, prosperity in and from the home. You were doing this dance summer of 2013 to summer of 2014. I'm a sun and moon. I bought an investment property at that time. And I also moved into a bigger house, found a bigger house with a swimming pool. So there was a larger house, a bigger house, a more expansive, more spacious home, a more fancy and high, a swimming pool home. So that is a vibe of kind of exalting your home in some way and prosperity in and from the home, these kinds of storylines. So if you can go back to like June of 2013 to maybe it was July of 2014, you might be able to see these storylines that repeated from that time frame. And you might have also done something similar in June of 2001 to June of 2002 regarding this expansion and prosperity in the home. Now, I'm going to give you the dark side of Jupiter in the fourth house. The fourth house is money from mom and dad, particularly mom. It's prosperity from the family of origin. It's legacy wealth. Unfortunately, for me as an Aries sun and moon, my mom passed away then and I inherited money, and it was rather unexpected. I was very young. I was only 39. So you can also think about the legacy wealth that Jupiter can bring you. It doesn't have to be that someone passes away. Please don't take it so seriously. It may just be, what mom or dad want to pass some financial wellness on to you, but there's just that energy. And then you go back to 1989 to 1990, July to August, and go back to August of 77 to September of 78, and you'll get the lay of the land. My son was born in 89 to 90 during Jupiter's transit through my fourth house from my son's perspective, solar perspective. And that makes sense because Jupiter expands the number of children in the home. So if you have Jupiter moving through your fourth house, if you're not going to have a baby and more kids in the home, he rules children, then maybe someone in your family is going to have more kids. Your kids are going to have kids or something like that. So look for that as well. But it's prosperity in, from, and about the home and home-based matters. And you come into a bit of a constriction in the beginning. In the month of June, that square to Saturn means that you want everything to be larger than life, better than better, bigger than bigger, regarding the word home, private life, domicile. Now, in June, I'm moving to a new home. I don't know, maybe this is constriction and constraint around not having enough furniture yet, or just feeling like I haven't got my mojo, or I'm being really conservative about the sofa expenditures and the things I need to buy to fill a home up that's not a furnished rental, right? I have to furnish it. And so there's just that, so it could be just something as minor as that kind of constriction, but you might find that, something about you really wanted things to roar forward in that fourth house. Love it. I mean, joy in the home, expansion in the home, truth in the home, prosperity in, from, and about the home. And there's just this kind of like Debbie Downer vibe. You're the Debbie Downer. You're the one being more serious, more measured, more cautious, okay, about the whole scenario. And then we move into the fall, and we got to love the fall, because in the fall, it's going to be like September 4th, but we can say, middle of August to middle of September, you're feeling this incredible, powerful success glow. And that's because the North Node in your 12th house, It's expansion of worldly success and desires to attain material prosperity and success in your 12th house. From the 4th. Well, there's a lot of ways this could roll. It could be a golden time, August to September, of raking in the dough if you do digital income, borderless revenue, or you make money from a foreign marketplace, foreign people, or foreign situations. It could be an amazing opportunity for long distance travel and a distant shore travel with golden prosperity all around it. Or it could be a golden glow up in your spiritual liberation. Although normally the North Node isn't seeking to liberate, it's the opposite. It wants the cigar in the Matrix, like Cypher in the movie, and the wine. There can be an incredible, powerful force of intensity and volume up in the moksha liberation of 12 and 4, and you might have spiritual breakthrough energy if that's something that all interests you. And if you want to expand your home in any way, it may involve distant shores. In other words, a chance to get a property in a distant shore. It doesn't have to be another country. It could be another part of the very country that you are in already. So look for those exciting opportunities showing up for you, and we'll be covering that in greater detail when we get to the summer, and I'll talk about that in August as well on my channel in more depth. Taurus, we have this Saturn impulse in your 12th house, squaring Jupiter's ingress into your 3rd in the month of June. So Jupiter in general in your 3rd house wants to bring you an expansion of the following themes. It wants to bring you an expansion of your goodness, prosperity, and expansion regarding online, social media, writing, communicating, ideas, websites, expansion and growth connected to neighbors, neighborhood, aunts, uncles, cousins, and siblings, expansion, growth, prosperity, and goodness in the life of a younger sibling as well, one younger than you. These are themes that may roll through your sky from June the 10th until June 30th of 2026. If you're a writer, this is extraordinarily positive. If you want to prosper because you have some kind of business, marketing and selling endeavors, or teaching as well, you're going to prosper as being a teacher, or you're going to have a lot of luck when it comes to being a skills-based learning student. So that's a theme, but you had that back in the day, summer of 13 to summer of 14, summer of 2001 to summer of 2002, July of 1989 to August of 1990, August of 1977 to September of 1978. So you've lived through this Jupiter transit before, but this one's got some very different elements. Number one, the square to Saturn. It's almost like in June, you just want to go rip roaring into a trip, short distance. You want to experience positive energies, marketing, selling, writing, communicating, learning, and teaching. You're ready to go, especially with Mercury there, especially for marketing and selling. And all of a sudden, June is like, Saturn, what a bummer. I have to constrict, and I have to be serious about something. I have to be realistic. Now, it's an interesting place for Saturn because he's in the house of curtailing your addictions and self-undoing. He's giving you a reality check on your own, being your own worst enemy. He's also there to maybe give you some solid and solid gains through solace and solitude. Like you could spend more time in hermit mode over the next 3 years, honestly. And in that kind of introspective, hermity vibration, he's talking to Jupiter saying, whoa, buddy, slow it down. For example, with this kind of Jupiter, I can see someone saying, I'm traveling, I'm out of here, I'm not coming back, I'm getting a one-way ticket or around the world pass or some crazy thing like that. I'm just going to go, I'm going to travel. And then Saturn's like, wait a minute, let's reconcile a few variables first, like expenses. Saturn will curtail your expenses in life when he's in the 12th house as well. Expenditures will be pared down to the barest minimum and essentials. So if anything is prosper, yes, you can prosper in the 3rd house, but Saturn wants you to be cautious as well. Again, marketing, selling, communicating, website, social media, this is your glow space for one whole year. When we move into August, so mid-August to mid-September, with the epicenter September 4th, Jupiter hasn't done this since 1895, trines the North Node in your 11th house with great gains from your career. So if you have a career that involves marketing, selling, communicating, writing, or anything along the lines of a house of communication, then Jupiter will help you expand the gains in your career. If you're a social media beast, this is a beautiful August, September timeframe for great success in your life. You may expand your social networks and groups of friends and bringing allies and benefactors and people in places of wealth and power to support you. Suddenly, also, your neighbors can be highly beneficial towards you, as well as that extended family network, aunts, uncles, cousins, especially when it comes to helping you actualize some of your longer range goals and dreams for your life. You get this kind of super rainbowy unicorn vibe going for sure. For the North Node is not only in Jupiter's kingdom, but also in the place of Jupiter's joy in the sky. And so Jupiter really wants to support worldly success on good terms, on terms that Jupiter can approve of. And this is almost like where people will come out of the woodwork in August and September to support you in achieving something that you desire to achieve in your long range goals, plans, and dreams for your life. And it could even be a beautiful new opportunity for a new job or work situation, but it will be connected to this kind of feeling of favors from people in high places. And maybe Jupiter means prosperity in the hood. So your job is closer to home, near where you live, it's in the neighborhood, that kind of thing, especially if you had a job that wasn't so close to home. And maybe this is going to be a much better story for you. Thank you for listening, Taurus. Don't forget, this is just the overview. We're going to be diving into a much deeper narrative, a much more precise narrative about this story for everything that Jupiter does as he moves through the sky. Like, what about that sextile that's trying to form to Venus? I don't think it's going to happen, but because Venus is moving too quickly. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. First things first. There's a cycle that happens every 12 years where Jupiter exalts your house of earnings, money, possessions, and resources. Your face is here, like your nose, your mouth, your teeth, like the facial apparatus is the second house. Jupiter is exalting your face. That's like crazy, exalting your face. But if you always wanted to get that facial rejuvenation treatment or some kind of new veneers or something, go for it in the next year. And Jupiter is exalting your money and your earnings and your resources. Now, he's a glutton. He loves to eat. He loves bigger, better, and more food. And this is the smorgasbord of food that goes through your mouth. So be a little careful. You might be becoming, or you could become a gourmand. You might discover you're going to discover the gastronomy of food or something, but it's going to exalt the place of eating and food as well. And also in Indian astrology, this is your family, and so your own family, your kids and your family, your husband and stuff. The fam could also get a glow up as well because of this transit. Now, if you go back to compare other times Jupiter has helped you on the money house, for example, and the other things I mentioned, you can kind of think back to June of 2013 to 14. That summer to summer, what was happening. You can think back to June of 2001 to June of 2002. You can think back to, or that was July of 2001 to July of 2002, July of 1989 to August of 1990, or August of 1977 to September of 1978, and say, did you get some more wealth? Did you get some more money? What kind of glow ups happened to your face? How did your dietary stories go? So you possess things in the second house. I possess bank account monies. I possess a car. I possess a sofa. Expansion of possessions as well is a theme of Jupiter here. Now, well, he would like to expand or make more money, earn more money, save more money, expand more things. He's very generous here. He can be very philanthropic. You might want to give money away. You might be very much willing to donate or help others with your financial stuff. So keep that in mind too. He's like very generous. It's also a Hail Mary pass. When Jupiter's traveling through the second house, you'll never be a street person broke on the sidewalk. You're always going to have a saving grace, no matter how hard your money seems to be. Your money will be fine during this transit. That said, June could feel a little bit like that's not true because Saturn squaring Jupiter from your 10th house, 11th house. Saturn is in the house of money you gain directly from your career, whatever that money is, your wages, your earnings, your celebrity, your success, all the great gains of one's career, second from the 10th. And Saturn is compressing that a bit, but he also is more realistic and he's more long game strategic about the gains you can make over time in a solid way. So for example, if you think you come into a get rich quick idea or schema or some idea for, this is going to make me a lot of money, and this is a month of June, Saturn might put his 2 cents in there and say, wait a minute, I don't think so. Take a closer look. Let's be more serious. Let's find something that's going to prosper over time, over 3 years, not something that's going to be a flash in the pan. And it's funny because in June, for example, I'm a progressed Gemini sun. I was going to launch Sky Reader, but I have to move instead. And I think that's an interesting kind of Saturnian compression of my original plan. Now, with Saturn in the 11th house in the month of June, you might have some kind of financial constriction with a friend, an old sibling one older, or a friend, and even just some hardship with a friend or a sibling one older, and money matters may just show up in the story during the month of June. But when we move forward, we get the excitement of Jupiter in a beautiful trine to the North Node of Fate, last seen in 1895. It's exact September the 4th, but you'll feel mid-August to mid-September this kind of delightful financial and worldly reputation and career success story. So no matter how weird or tough or, bumpy things might be in June or July, by the time we get to August, September, the North Node and Jupiter expand and increase your worldly success, your reputation, your social standing in the eyes of the world, and your career success stories. And it goes in alignment with the money as well. The earnings and resources are in tandem. Houses 2 and 10 are material prosperity and resources houses. They're the Artha houses. So this is a beautiful glow up. So don't be constrained by what goes down in the month of June, because I'm telling you, you'll be fine in the month of August and September. Did I tell you to go back in time? I think I did. Compare notes, but nothing is like this time. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, of course, you are getting the best treatment here. Jupiter is rolling out a red carpet in your sign. You might go ahead and consider what you feel about this. How does it feel to have this red carpet roll out like you did in June of 2013 to June of 2014, or July of 2001 to July of 2002? Or July of 89 to August of 1990, or August of 1977 to September of 1978. Those are times when you have also felt this golden expansion in the sign of you. For you rising signs, this is very important to listen to what I'm about to tell you. This is a fertility transit. If you are fertile, I don't care if you're the man or the woman, you could have a pregnancy occur during this year. If you are somebody who doesn't want to put on weight, Jupiter will put on weight for the rising sign in particular. Or if you don't want to do that, you can start doing muscle building, but you can expand your physical girth. You may feel like others look to you for leadership. You're more generous, magnanimous. You're more upbeat and optimistic. You see the half full cup. You have a natural magnetic charisma. You may capitalize on this leaderful charisma that follows you around. You may be inclined to want to teach people, to be guru-like indeed. And this is mostly true for, of course, the ascendant in Cancer. Sun in Cancer, it's a career glow up. Moon in Cancer, you feel better than you felt in years, but also Moon in Cancer people, your home and home life can improve dramatically. Sun in Cancer, good luck for your father. Moon in Cancer, good luck for your mom. Now, and again, Jupiter is also luck. So the luck and prosperity, expansion, growth, wealth, hope, and optimism are all coming straight to you. Thank you, Jupiter. Well, you're going to ask me in June, what the hell? Because Saturn is kind of raining on this parade. Well, Saturn has a few things to say. He's kind of concerned about your career. He wants you to figure out over the next 3 years how to be masterful, authoritative, and successful in the career, understanding that you're reaching a peak. Just like Kamala Harris, right? Saturn was going through her 10th house when she did not get elected to presidency, but it was a peak experience in her career to be a nominee for president. And so you're trying to peak out in something here at the top of your sky. And that idea of peaking out and mastering and being an authority over time with hard work is going to be true for 3 years. And so that backdrop story is in place. And Saturn is having you working with an eye to seriousness, and Chiron with being on purpose and using your talents and gifts that you're born with. That's your focus. And it's almost like Jupiter would just like to throw caution to the wind and just do fun, enjoyable things. Or you might think you can expand in your career a lot faster than you're possibly able to do. And it's always good to take a reality check on realities. What does reality have in mind for you? That it's reasonable about how much you can attain in that career. Sensible and realistic versus optimistic and expansive energies that you're looking at. I can do anything. I'm thinking of a song like, well, it's very, very go big or go home in your career, except Saturn has another opinion. But Jupiter's songs would be, well, Jupiter would say the sky's the limit. You might bite off a huge amount of success, ambition here for your career without looking at the realistic amount of hard work it can take. And you're going to be dealing with that in the month of June. But then as we move towards August and September, then things are going to soften up quite a bit, because what we have in August is not seen since 1895. Beautiful trine energy between the North Node in your 9th house and Jupiter in your 1st. Did I give you the dates to go back to? I hope so. Like, summer of 13, 14, summer of 2001 and 2, July of 89 to 1999, August of 77 to September of 78. That's just the Jupiter in your sign. But this North Node thing hasn't happened in your life and won't happen again, I don't believe, in this lifetime. So the North Node wants to bring you worldly success in the following areas: book publishing, higher education and academia, colleges and universities, court and legal matters with judges, visas, passports, foreign shore travel. It's a luck house anyway. It belongs to wealth and prosperity energies, Lakshmi energies. And the North Node wants to increase that luck in this part of the sky. And Jupiter is the god of luck. So how can you go wrong, right? Luck upon luck. I think it's pretty yay you. And this is August, September, but you'll really feel it September 4th, but it's playing out 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after in precision. And so look for a nice glow. I mean, I would prescribe for you to travel internationally if you can, late, mid-August to mid-September, or any kind of travel to a foreign distant shore. That would be okay for you. It would be very glow up for you. But also applications to universities, going off to college or university, winning in a court case. These are amazing energies for you. And they're just because they're so rare. It's not just, it's a rare and amazing combination of events. If you're in a book publishing industry or you want to publish a book, this is going to work for you. This is going to be very successful. All right, that's what I have for you, Cancers. We'll be diving a lot more into things as they happen. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. I've got a lot more stuff coming out, and you don't want to miss it. I'm absolutely certain of that. Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. Jupiter is exalting your 12th house. This is like gurus. This is ashrams. This is spiritual attainment and enlightenment. This is good prosperity from things you do home alone in your downtime. Solitude brings joy, enjoyment, and prosperity. Jupiter in the 12th house is really good for helping you find information, teachings, and remedies for addictions and self-undoing. Jupiter brings prosperity from far off distant shores, foreign marketplaces, and lands. And Jupiter means that you can make money very successfully if you don't have a border to worry about. So that's our in modern day, PayPal, Stripe, digital income, and borderless revenue. That can be prosperity here too. You had this transit of Jupiter exalting you in your 12th house, June of 2013 to 14, or July of 2001 to 2002. Or July 31st of 1989 to August of 1990, or August of 1977 to September of 1978. So this is not brand new. You have done this before. And so the differences are magnitudes, multitudes of difference. One is Saturn and one is the North Node. As June emerges, you get a bit of a feeling of compression where I'm telling you how wonderful this is, and you're like, right. Now, Saturn could be a legal matter, or an academic court matter, academic case, a court matter, a legal matter, something to do with visas and passports or travel constrictions and restraint that you're feeling in the month of June. And Dharma, or having a kind of deep, meaningful purpose to life, that also belongs to the 9th house. And Saturn is going to give you 3 years of mastery. Trust me, some of you are going back to school or studying some major stuff in the next 3 years. And Saturn is just beginning to show you that might be true. And you might want with Jupiter to do something that Saturn's not ready to agree to. You might be thinking, I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to set up my online digital income sources. I'm going to kick the bad habit. I'm going to find my guru. And Saturn is like, slow it down, careful, buddy, wait a minute, take it easy, rethink this, maybe be more realistic, maybe take some cautionary steps towards your goals, not all at once. And especially with Neptune there could be some confusion that you're not seeing things clearly quite yet. So for example, if you thought that maybe traveling abroad or going off to college or university was a great idea, and I'm not saying it's not, you might not be ready to actually do that in June, right? June is about more like the careful strategic planning. As we move towards, however, August, September, especially September 4th, this is when Jupiter, not seen since 1895, will love up the North Node in your 8th house of chunky money. Well, certainly it can mean money and chunks of money and big money, tax rebates, royalty income, successful monies from investments, monies from sharing something with a spouse or business partner. That's on the worldly increase, but it can come from Jupiter in the 12th, which means money from foreign places, foreign companies, foreign marketplaces, distant shores, working for a foreign entity, doing borderless income and digital revenue like I do, and increases of chunky money. Now, chunky money in my business is not when I see a client one-on-one. That's me earning money, wages, dollars for hours. That's a wage, right? However, if I put out a product for sale and it sells while I'm sleeping, like, which I do, like my All Signs bundle, that's kind of like royalty income, 8th house money. That's money that happens when you're not working for it. So there's that kind of increase of that kind of money coming into your life. Your significant other and money from them may come into your life. The only downside of this is Jupiter is in the house of hospitals, and there's a possibility, not by any means a probability, that some money may come to you through inheritance in the course of this journey of Jupiter through your 12th house with the North Node in the 8th house. Okay. That's just one thing I have to point out for you. Mars will move through Scorpio, the 4th house of the family of origin this fall, right? So again, it is a possibility of some inheritance money coming to you in the fall as a result of this transit. Just a few of you, not all of you, not even many of you will experience this to be true. And you won't be able to compare this because the North Node was not in the 8th house in other storylines. So it's got a whole new flavor. Saturn compressing Jupiter here too. Saturn is the ruler of your marriage house, and he's in the legal court matters house. So for a very few of you, separation and divorce stories may be ongoing, and this is going to feel constricting in June, but gloriously successful financially for you in August and September, where the money that you're deserving or owed in a marital separation becomes clearly evident August and September, where you're constricted about it in June. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. I'm going to get through this. No chocolate break today. First things first, the last time you had this energy, well, first of all, what is Jupiter doing here? What does Jupiter do here? Well, Jupiter in your 11th house is in his joy. We call this the house of his joy. And of course, Firmicus Maternus, as I showed you in the beginning, says Jupiter rejoices as well in the sign of Cancer. So for a Virgo, this is extraordinarily good. Jupiter will bring you an expansion of prosperity connected to your career, a raise or a promotion, a leveling up financially, for the gains of the career come from the 11th house, because it is second from the 10th. It can be more celebrity, more influence, more recognition, or more money coming into your life. And you may also experience a time in this year ahead, June of this year to June of next year, of incredible, powerful glow up when it comes to friends who want to help you. All of a sudden, your friends want to support you. People want to help you. They want to be benefactors, allies towards you. Jupiter here can even bring you, rich, powerful, and influential friends that support you as well. It gives you a beautiful energy of friends that are good for you as well. New friends may emerge that are better for you. Jupiter up here is a good placement. Jupiter is in the house of long-range goals and dreams, and you're going to expand your long-range goals and dreams to something even more ambitious or more true than you thought was possible. Now, Jupiter's been here before, back in June of 2013 to 2014. Now, if you were a child then, for instance, maybe you had a glow up in your career, which would be being a student, right? Being a student is your career when you're a student, or your gains of your career. You got, good gains in your student career, so to speak. But June of 13 to June of 14 was the last time this occurred. And then before that, July of 1989 to August of 1990. And before that, August of 1970 to September of 1978. What expansion did you experience in your 11th house of great gains? This is different a little bit because of Saturn and because of the North Node. As this begins the month of June, Saturn is squaring Jupiter from your 8th house. And this could even feel like a bit of a financial contraction because we make money, or we have money coming to us in the 11th house from our career, and Saturn is contracting from the house of taxes, shared monies with a spouse, debts and indebtedness connected to shared monies like leveraged monies, mortgages, and bank loans and stuff like that. I wonder, money you share with a spouse. For example, Jupiter's like, look at me, I'm making money in my career. And then maybe some shared resources with the spouse feels like a contraction. I don't know. Jupiter can get you pregnant in the 11th house because he witnesses the 5th house. Just be careful there, okay? Just as he's Mr. Fertility looking over at the 5th house of baby making. So there is something to consider here as well about constriction and constraints that may be about, oh no, I wasn't planning a child. And the reason I bring that up too is that Saturn is the one giving Jupiter a hard time, kiboshing his enthusiasm in the sign of the mother. And Saturn owns a house of pregnancy for you. So this is particularly true if you are a female Virgo, where things to do with fertility and pregnancy and babies could feel like a constriction. Now, Jupiter owns your 7th house of marriage and marriage partners. And I think that there's something to be said that's very positive here, because when we get to August, September, especially September 4th, Jupiter is going to increase the power of the North Node in his Pisces kingdom. And that could indicate an incredible experience of success in your relationship to a long-term committed love partner. That could look like a marriage proposal, wedding bells, moving in together, or an increase of prosperity in the life of your partner, and their wealth and their success is on the upswing in August and September. If you are thinking of getting into a new relationship and you're a single Virgo, then yes, I think that you can find positive new love through social groups, friends, and groups of belonging as a possibility. Hang in with the social networks or groups. You might meet a very powerful new relationship partner that's destined and fated during the month of August and September. If you have an audience or a marketplace to whom you outreach, a public, so to speak, relative to your career, including the word clients, there's an expansion of worldly success through those people. And Jupiter is saying, let's make you richer in the career zone. And that is a gorgeous career up level in August and September. Certainly, it's a good time in August, September to knock on doors and apply for new jobs. That looks like successful contractual hiring for those Virgos looking for a position, a work position, a career position of some sort. I would encourage you in August and September to go out and search, because I think if you seek, you will find. Yes, Libra, I'm hitting the Libra chocolate mark, and I'm out of chocolate in my house, which is a catastrophe. And so I'm trying to think what I can nibble on that isn't chocolate. I'll be right back. I couldn't find anything. So I'm just going to plow through and then eat something after we finish this story. Okay, moving into Libra. Yeah, my favorite dates from Iran are all gone. My chocolate's all gone, and I'm, yes, bereft without my favorite midway snacks. Okay, moving forward, guys. I'm loving this story about Jupiter. I love giving good news. Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Nothing to complain about with an exalted Jupiter in your 10th house of career. This is your career glow up. This is your once every 13 year, look at me world. I am on the top of Mount Olympus and I am successful. I am prosperous. I am leaderful. I am respected for my expansive authority, power, and glow in my 10th house. You don't have a career, you're retired. Well, I don't know. What do you do that people would say, yay, you know, you're the head of the golf club group or something and your best score ever. You got to do something in the public when you're retired, unless you're sitting at home in your basement. So whatever you do in the public eye, it's going to look really good on you during this June 10th of this year to the end of June next year. You've done this before. June the 30th. No, sorry, June of 2013 to June of 2014. You did this again in July of 2001 to 2002. You get it again, July of 1989 to August of 1990. And you did it once again in August of 1977 to September of 1978. Probably you had some greater successes in your careers. 10th house can be the house of weddings. Jupiter is good for legal weddings. Maybe you had weddings that you went to, but likely they could have been yours as well during Jupiter's transit in these other times and places in your life. Now, when Jupiter's here, things are lucky in your career, just lucky. Right? Lucky breaks happen. Yes, wealth, prosperity, power, influence, increase of success, but just luck as well. Things go your way. End of story. And even though I've told you all of that, as this happens on June the 10th, it's going to be probably for most of June, especially mid-June, that you feel constriction and constraint. You're like, what the hell she's talking about? I'm not so sure about this. It's not the glow up I was expecting. That's because Saturn is squaring Jupiter from the 7th house. Now that can be your marriage type partner is raining on your parade. Like, you know, you're always at work. You know, I never see you anymore. I know you're successful, but what about me? Or it could be that your marriage type partner is going through a hard time, especially with addictions with Neptune, and you're having to tack and track their issues while you're also working on your own success. Or it could be that your audience marketplace stuff is demanding so much of your grinding attention that you don't have a chance to enjoy your success in your career. Like, for example, getting a promotion to the next level, but realizing that the work is so hard at first, you're just about to quit. And finally, legal contracts and agreements and work and career success are at odds with each other. And there may be some challenging times in June where maybe you already got a new glow up just as he was getting ready to cross into the 10th house, a new job, a new offer. But now there's all kinds of details on that contractual arrangements that Saturn wants you to be strategic, measured, cautious about signing on any dotted line. And that's taking some of your time and attention away from your joyous celebration of your success. Now, all I can say is there's no way you're not going to be successful because you've got the Artha trine from the North Node, Rahu, worldly success in the house of work, flowing to Jupiter in the house of career. For Libras in the workforce, this is incredibly powerful, and it hasn't happened since 1895. You are on your A game for a first and once in a lifetime 1 year power up in career. North Node is saying, go for it. Worldly success. You might have to have employees, hire helpers. You might have a large staff underneath you because you are going to be in the position of power. Well, you have an increase in the position of employees, or just an increase of success all over in the Artha houses, work and career. And of course, that will trickle over into the money house as well. So this is a year for your worldly career success to go into a first and once in a lifetime year of great success. Wish you the very best, Libra. I have a Libra friend who just told me she got a book publishing deal. Actually, I got the message from her today. I've been recording today. I haven't had a chance to really get back to her. That's classic preamble just before Jupiter steps into that 10th house. Of course, Jupiter was in the house of her book publishing, right? The tail end of her 9th house just before this time frame of Jupiter in the 10th. I'd be pressed if I was getting a book publishing deal after Jupiter transited through my 9th. I'd be pressing for that book to come out when Jupiter is in my 10th house before the end of June next year. So Scorpio, Jupiter is in a very pulpit place, you know. Jupiter, June the 10th to June 30th of next year, is moving through the house of religion, churches, mosques, temples. And he's like up there, tends to be very guru-like, teacher-like. And if you don't have a spiritual teacher, you might get one. And that's going to be a possibility in this next year. However, Jupiter can also be advisors or hands of the king, people who want to help you, therapists sometimes. Jupiter up here can also make you expand your intensity around desiring spiritual knowledge, meditation practices, truth, moving into more dharmic alignment with your life's purpose in the next year. Jupiter here can give you golden, lucky opportunities to go off to university, college, and success. Jupiter can give you book publishing deals in book publishing venues. Jupiter can help you win at any legal or court case that you face in the next 12 months. And he's trining you in a water trine. And of course, that feels good because trines are the nature of Jupiter and they also bring luck. So you are going to find yourself more lucky in any way that you possibly wish to be lucky in the next 12 months. Now, you've been through this kind of Jupiter luck zone back in July of 2001 or so, or maybe June, but in 2001, July to 2002. And July of 1989 to August of 1990, and August of 1977 to September of 1978. So these summer to summers every 12 years backwards in time, right, are also when you live through this experience. And maybe you can compare notes. Maybe there's something there for you that makes just a smidgen of sense for you, okay? My son is a Scorpio rising. He was born in 1989, 1990. So it represents he's got an exalted Jupiter natally. It makes his story of his, first birth year very much what that is about. And yet at the very same time, if I think back to my Scorpio rising son in summer of 2001 to summer of 2002, and of course he was in school. He was in middle school. But he did very well in middle school that year. I forgot about how well he was doing. He got a teacher. Her name was Mrs. Havoc, and she loved him up. And he got his first big, I'm a good student and I could do well. So educational things really perked up for him. And he got really great creds. That was a really first good academic year for my kid at that time. I want you to also think about things like leaning into your dreams of being on purpose, because that's what Jupiter wants you to do here. And father figures can bring prosperity. Jupiter is in the house of Indian astrology's father figures. So a father, a grandfather, a fatherly type person may bring you wealth or prosperity as a result of this over the course of the year that follows this transit. Now, as we start off in the month of in the month of June, it doesn't feel as good as I'm billing it, right? I know it sounds like I'm over promoting here. That's because Saturn in the house of work and health and pets and debts is squaring Jupiter. And so you may be bogged down with health, pets, rental situations, debts, work obligations. And you're not really able to get this glow. Jupiter in the ninth, I forgot to mention, will bring you traveling to foreign lands and foreign shores, if that's something that at all is interesting you. And, getting those extensive visas, passports, distant travel and shore of opportunities is what Jupiter would do. And maybe you're like June, you want to go traveling and you can't. Saturn says you got to stay home and work, or you got to keep your nose to the work grindstone, etc. If you haven't quit your job yet, thanks to Mars's transit through Leo, mid-April to mid-June. If you have debts and you feel constrained by debt, or you could bump into a health problem, that could delay the gratification of the Jupiter joy in the ninth. But do not sweat your bullets, because it is going to get better in August, in September, when Jupiter begins to trine the North Node in the house of pregnancy and fertility, fifth house of romantic love, entrepreneurship, good fortune, winning money through speculation, and just all over good.
You take will have to think carefully.
All over good fortune. Okay, all over good fortune. So North Node expands your good fortune in the house of good fortune. And if you're creative, artistic, this could be a good experience. If you want to go off to a university or college to do some study in some area that's aligned with your natural gifts and abilities that you were born with, the North Node in the fifth house flows to Jupiter and says yes. If you have children, I could see grandchildren coming from this. Jupiter's in the house of grandchildren. North Node's in the house of children. And if you want to make a baby, North Node in the house of pregnancy, Jupiter in the house of childbirth and delivery, says this is a good auspicious transit for the year that follows this ingress, but especially August and September, to make a baby. If you want to be entrepreneurial or artistic and get great success, that book publishing deal, that international success in some of your art or artworks or creative projects, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And if you never had thought to be an entrepreneur, then this is the kind of transit that says if you go for it, you're going to succeed. Wish you the very best of luck, Scorpio. And if you're in the live premiere, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. I'd really appreciate that, guys. Now we're moving into the next sign. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. Jupiter is moving. I'm sugar lowing. I need food. I just don't know what I'm going to eat. Jupiter is moving through, how about a handful of raisins? 4 more signs, but this sugar low is gnarly. I'll be right back. Wow, I found a chocolate macaroon. Oh my God, I needed some food. I did not make it all the way through. I thought I could pull off a sugar-free or like a calorie-free continuation, but my brain is losing its battery power. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. Did we do you? No. So this is an inheritance transit sometime. So June 10th of this year to July 30th of next year, Jupiter transiting through your 8th house of chunky money, which is basically unearned income that comes from a source other than wages. So it could be a stock investment that pops. It could be royalty income. It could be because they share that with a shared income. I'm a shareholder. I share my money with the publishing company, right? Residual income. It could be money coming from an inheritance. It could be money coming from spousal separation and divorce agreements. It could be money coming in any kind of chunk, including winning money. Now, with Jupiter in this kind of money here and here for a year, you might win money. And you have had or get a chunk of money coming at you somehow, some way. And you've had this happen before, because if you go back to the summer, this would be June of 2013 to 2014, or July of 2001 to 2002, or July of 1989 to 1990, or August of 1977 to September of 1978. You have lived through this before. And maybe some of those times you got some money through an inheritance or through an unexpected chunk of money of some sort. It's very successful energy if you want to get a mortgage. You want to get a bank loan. You want to leverage money in that regard. So keep that in mind as well. Jupiter can expand your interest in the occult arts, like tarot and numerology, astrology. You might want to learn these things with Jupiter, take on a learning or find a teacher in this area of your life as well. Now, Jupiter here, like all those other times, is also going to come into a square in June, where some of this expansion of your lucky money, chunky money, good money stories, including winning at divorce settlements, getting the bulk of the money that you deserve, all of that. It may feel constricted in June because all through the month of June, especially mid-June, Saturn is forming a square with Jupiter. And Saturn is a bit of the cautionary note and the Debbie Downer. And he's looking over at Jupiter, who's all full of bouncy castle enthusiasm, from the 5th house. And he's putting his hand up like with a caution note. Let's slow it down. Let's not be reckless here, especially in Aries. And he's trying his best to be serious and mature. For example, any issues regarding children and lovers and children and money need to be taken at a slow pace during the month of June, especially children. Your children belong to the 5th, and you might be feeling some isolation from your children in June or hardship with your children. Saturn is squaring Jupiter over matters of money and children. These are possibilities. I mean, adult children, obviously not your piggy bank little 5-year-old's money is a problem between you guys. You may feel some constriction of joy and enjoyment of life, just because Saturn in the house of enjoyment and fun and pleasure is pretty serious energy for the next 3 years. And there's some kind of constriction in your life's enjoyment, in your creativity, in your procreativity, in your entrepreneurial life, all of the things that belong to the 5th house, your romantic life, that is at odds with Jupiter's buoyant jubilation in your 8th house. For example, you might start dating somebody in June and find out that you're not compatible on a money level. That's something as simple as that, like they're broke and you're not, or vice versa. So there's things going on here that look difficult in June, but then we get out of that energy in June and we move away from it And we move into the beautiful energy of the summer. And in the summertime, which is to be said mostly August and September and mid-August to mid-September in particular, Jupiter is in a not seen since 1895 trine to the node of fate, the north node of fate in your fourth house. Now, this is great for buying real estate, selling real estate, expanding your home and having the money to do so. This is ideal as well for inheritances from family of origin members, fourth house. This is destined changes in your home life or in your home itself. This first and once in a lifetime. So if you were to change your home here, North Node often means foreign place, foreigner. It's an archetype of the foreigner. It's also the archetype of the famous person, but it's a foreigner energy. And so you might move to a new place, and because you have the prosperity to do so, that is literally a foreign place to where you've lived. So I'd say that another country, but it could also be changing or expanding your home to a place that's so far from where you are now, it feels like a foreign place. I guess that's the best way I could put it. If you have to settle monies or if you're divorcing and you have to share, like settle the money, you get the house, I get the cat, all that, you're going to be fine. This is going to favor you. And and who gets what that belongs together, you're going to do well. You're going to be okay. You're supported by the universe not to be losing in this game of marital separation and assets and divorce. You're going to be fine here. And that's what I got for you. That's what I got. And, the energy of it being like the first and once in a lifetime, you can't really compare Jupiter's trine to the North Node to anything else you've experienced in your life. I certainly know that Venus and Jupiter combined forces in your 8th house of chunky money as well in the month of August, about August 12th or 13th or something like that. So all said and done, like this is a really good prosperity vibe for a lot of Sagittariuses, especially rising, but sun, prosperity and luck around career matters financially as well. And Sag moon, like, again, are you changing your home and why? An expansion of your money doesn't have to require the death of a parent or a grandparent, but it can also mean there's some kind of increase regarding property and land connected to your family of origin, and you are going to profit from that in some fundamental way. That's what I got for you. Hey, Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. So where do we begin? Well, I think we start with the fact that my phone keeps playing a reel and it's not stopping. Okay, there we go. I have no time to do reels. How do people do this? How do these astrologers do YouTube and Instagram reels and everything else? It's just like, I can't even begin. All right, Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising. So every 12 years, Jupiter transits through his exaltation of your marriage house. And it tends to be he wants to exalt your marriage partner or exalt your marriage. Or if you don't have a marriage, bring you an exalted marriage partner. Is that simple? Sometimes exalted business partners too. And sometimes you might attract wealthy, Jupiterian, powerful people to you that bring you good things. Jupiter would be leaders or something, or authority people in power, positions of authority. And they come into your world and bring you good things during the year of his transit through his exaltation in your 7th house. Now, Capricorns, sun, moon, and rising, especially rising, you've had this before. This is not your first time. For you Capricorn suns, you might actually be focused a little more on the business partnership, but honestly, for a sun too, this can also act like a marriage house. So let's get back to basics, because for Jupiter to exalt like a kind of on high, pedestaling energy in the marriage house can be, of course, good or bad. Sometimes a Jupiter transit through the 7th house anyway ends a relationship because he will retrograde here. So it's kind of going to be, he's going to give not his good housekeeping seal of approval, his good housekeeping seal of royal approval, whether or not that relationship is going to merit your continuation. So you've had this Jupiter transit in this part of your chart, the 7th house, back in June of 2013 to June of 2014. What was going on if you were married within the bounds of a marriage or business partnerships, or how you connected to other people, including an audience in a marketplace. If you were in sales, you might have had a real glow up, for example, because your clients and their sales targets are over there in the 7th house. So that would be June of 13 to June of 14. Also, what was going on in July of 2001 to July of 2002 in the same sky, or July of 1989 to August of 1990, or finally August of 1977 to September of 1978. Those are comparable time frames. Because Jupiter can definitely bring prosperity from other people in a house of legal agreements. Also compare those timeframes in this one coming up to like opportunities for you to have an exaltation of business partnerships or agreements for work. Okay. That's another way it could happen to show up for you as well. Now, this is going to start off bumpy in June because Jupiter is going to be squared by Saturn. Saturn is in your fourth house. Saturn is in the house of home alone, melancholic home alone, lonely in the home, or property, land, real estate, and home, or an elder living in the home, or burdensome, melancholic, and anxious energy in the home. I don't know. That's how you got to get used to it. Saturn's going to be there for 3 years in your fourth house. Chironic wound is there, and Saturn would try to bring you a solid home, one that's stable, one that lasts at least a few years, right? So that could be a good thing. And Saturn's really fixated on home and property and domicile and private life. And Saturn here is very much able to be very alone and private and home alone. And you're going to find that June, he's there, but squaring the marriage god in the marriage house, Jupiter. So, for example, conflict with a spouse, conflict with a committed long-term love partner, over the way things are going in the home. Maybe you want more quiet aloneness in the home. Your partner's full jumping jacks and what do you call those things? The jumping things you do, trampolining, full of excitement, and you're like super cautious. Maybe there's something about property, land, and real estate. You might find a buyer, or you want to buy a property because contractual sale agreements belong to the seventh. And Saturn has Neptune. Are you confused? Are you deluded? Saturn's like, take your time, wait, be careful. Don't jump. Take your time. So listen to Saturn, because Saturn has sagacity, even in a sign of his fall. I mean, he does exalt your 10th house of career, and he is fallen into the fourth. And there may be a career opportunity coming, but you need to really inspect it. You need to really think about, is that the deal for me in the month of June? But then as we move forward into August, September, then game on. North Node, first in a lifetime, once in a lifetime. North Node transiting through your third house, last happened in 1895, while Jupiter is transiting through his exaltation of your seventh. Well, for work matters, this is great because, often we get work agreements coming off the third house. This is marketing and selling. This is sometimes local brick and mortar. This is also now in our modern day, the online world. So you could get a beautiful opportunity for a work agreement coming through your sky, August and September. It may require travel, because the third house is a travel house, but there can be some work opportunities that may require travel that show up for you. If it's back to this consideration of long-term committed love stories, exaltation of your marriage house, your marriage partner may be getting some of the benefits from this, an expansion of their online presence, their marketing and selling, their writing. Now, if you want to write, you can write. You can be writing in August and September and have a great deal of luck coming from writing. There may be lots of opportunities for travel with a marriage type partner during the month of August and September as another option. But it's a deeper story than the one-off months ahead. The vibe is destined success, worldly, wants to occur in your third house, but you need to do it in connection to another person. Jupiter is that person who brings you the lucky breaks. That is that wealthy, powerful, or influential or leaderful person. So look for lucky breaks coming through others for you in some really beautiful way in the month of August, in the month of September, epicenter September 4th. Stay tuned for a lot more as we dive into this as it happens, like breaking news. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss this once in a lifetime transit. I'll be talking about it in much more depth as we get closer to it. The minor asteroids, etc., the stars involved. Now, Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. Let's talk about the first story. The history of this. Every 12 years, Jupiter will move through your sixth house of work, job, employment, service, work. And he also travels through the house of health and brings you increase of health or solutions to problems with your health. And he also travels through there and gets you pets, more than one perhaps. And he also travels through your sixth house and helps you eliminate debts. So he's gone through this sixth house before. He went through this house June of 2013 to June of 2014. What was going on in your work environment? I'm an Aquarius rising. I got leveled up at the Good Men Project magazine to a senior editor status. That was a nice glow up in my work at the time. I was working as an online editor and writer. So there's an example for you. In June of 2013-14, what kinds of changes happened to matters to do with work, health, pets, etc. Same thing happened in 2001 July to 2002 July. In that year, you also had an increase in positive developments in that sixth house as well. And maybe you can remember what that was like. Maybe you can't, maybe you can. It's worth trying to remember that time frame. I remember it as mostly a 9/11 problem, and amongst other things that happened in my life at the time, to say the least. But I was good for my health because I got in shape. I got back in shape because I had gotten extremely out of shape from having a baby. And so suddenly I was back into the swing of losing the weight and getting healthy again. Now, what happened in July of 1989 to August of 1990? And again, I'm talking about work, I'm talking about health, I'm talking about pets and debts, so go back and compare that as well. And then finally, August of 1977 to September of 1978. Similar time frame, some kind of repeating story perhaps that you can compare notes to. This time around, Jupiter is going to open the story in June with the strategic hardship and constraint of Saturn. Saturn has got his eyes on Jupiter in your third house, and he wants the caution tape up. Nothing should be overly optimistic yet when it comes to work, when it comes to getting better health outcomes, when it comes to debts and eliminations, when it comes to pets. Not everybody gets pets, by the way, when Jupiter moves through their sixth house, just so you know, but a lot of people do. Or your pet gains weight. You would take Saturn in the third house and you would think about the following themes. If you are in work that requires you to teach, write, market, or sell, or especially if you're in the online placement, right? Saturn wants to slow things down, take it careful, constrict things a bit, be more strategic, especially if you use Neptunian things like online streaming platforms or videography type platforms. And Jupiter just wants to go forward. Like, I got this. We're going to do this. This is going to happen. So for example, hiring people, like you might want to hire staff with Jupiter here, but Saturn is like, caution, wait, slow down, not yet, think about it. Who knows why, right? It's just not the best timing. I wouldn't want to hire somebody under a Saturn Jupiter square in the month of June. And this is particularly true around June the 15th. Also, maybe there's some constriction in your neighborhood situation, like the neighborhood, the local environment you live in, the hood, that part, or your sibling one younger, or your aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews, and they're having some kind of difficulty, and there's constrictions and constraints around travel as well. And that's getting in the way of this bouncy Jupiter castle in your sixth house, right? Like you want to get a pet, but you have to travel to go pick it up, but you can't because your car is broken. It could be something as boring as that. But at a deeper level, Saturn is just the wisdom of taking your time to know that you're doing the right thing, because Jupiter in his exaltation can sometimes be over the top. So plan and strategize something, an online thing. If I'm going to teach Sky Reader, which I am, I'm not going to teach it in June, not because of this transit, which is good enough, because I'm moving. But it's like I was going to start teaching in June. This transit tells me not to teach in June. I was going to start June 15th. That would have been a disaster. Saturn says, no, wait. So consider this a time of cautionary pause on exuberant choices that you want to make. Don't get a pet under this. Do not hire someone. Do not make a major change in your local neighborhood environment. Wait it out. Now, when we move forward, to August, September, then things are lovely because now Jupiter is trining the north node of increase in worldly success in your second house of earnings and resources from the house of work and livelihood and earnings and work and money. And if you were hiring staff, they're going to increase your money gain. If you get hired by someone else, you're going to increase your earnings profile, your savings increase, your financial resources increase. You get a glow up, a raise, a promotion. The boss loves you. You are the boss. You love your staff. Whatever is going on August and September, especially September 4th is the epicenter. It's super juicy for you. And your health is increasing because maybe you're making some very significant changes to your dietary habits as well in August and September. But things are destined and flowing, and worldly success in the career space is guaranteed because these are your second and sixth house, and they are Artha houses. And this is work, career, money, glow up. No two ways about it. So just enjoy the ride. That's my advice for you. You're going to have a Scorpio new moon here in the fall. You're riding off of a Jupiter 6 and North Node second house wave. It's like golden, first in a lifetime, once in a lifetime career, financial gains and glow up. And if you have a health challenges, it's going to be fine because you're going to find a solution and that will go well as well. I mean, Saturn in the North Node in the second house is definitely looking at dietary style or habits, and Jupiter means teaching and learning. So you might learn something that you need to know for better health connected to dietary habits and patterns and styles. All right. So, a pet. You want a pet, get a pet. But don't get a pet in June, not even in July. But this is mid-August to mid-September. Jupiter is in the house of pets, flowing to the North Node in the house of, expenditures, like to buy something, to possess something. You can possess a pet successfully in the fall. And wait until I want to get a cat. I have a lease. I said I didn't have a pet, but if I talk to the landlady and say I'm going to get a non-shedding cat or something else, let's see what she says. All right. I'm done with dogs. I love them, but they're a lot of work. Okay. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. Never last, ever least. Best and always best. You need a t-shirt, don't you? Or a mug with those things on it. I'm going to tell you that this is such an amazing time to be a Pisces, just like it's an amazing time to be a Cancer rising and a Scorpio rising and sun and moon. So the water signs are getting such a great love up. How are you going to be feeling under this story? Well, first of all, Jupiter in your fifth house is a fertility transit. It makes babies or grandbabies happen. So watch for this as well. Babies and grandbabies for Pisces, sun, moon, and rising, especially rising, are a theme. And also beautiful, lovely, joyful, good romance can occur for single Pisces looking for love. And so this energy is here for a year, right? June the 10th to end of June next year. It's also good for entrepreneurship, creativity, art, joy, expansion, growth, loving life, feeling connected to the divine impulse, wonder, awe. It's like the sun card in the tarot. That's all happening. Yet you've had it before. You've had it before in June of 2013 to June of 2014. Can you tell me what happened? And Jupiter is sextiling the marriage house, which back then could, or any time he's there, could lead to a legal wedding as well. Also, July of 2001 to July of 2002, romance, fertility, children, grandchildren. Think about it, right? July 31st of 89 to August of 1990. And August of 1977 to September of 1978. Now, you can do education in Indian astrology in the fifth house, and often it's education connected to one's natural talents and gifts that come from the fourth house of the family of origin. So if you want to learn to sing because you're good at singing, or you want to study something or learn something that you know is in alignment with your natural abilities, Jupiter is the teacher, and you may learn something that's to increase your actual ability and something you're already quite good at, okay? Jupiter here is like having the king in the house of your gifts and talents. And so you could rise to new levels of power and expression and natural artistic or gifts and talents or learning environments in which you amplify those talents. Now, this is a bit of a rough, bumpy start because Saturn squares Jupiter in the beginning from the money and earnings house. Now, Jupiter is in a house of good fortune, including speculation, like winning the lottery, playing the casinos, getting the gambling wins, so to speak. And certainly, this is a whole year in which you could win money. And maybe you did win money like in 13, 14, or 2001, 2002. Go back to those dates. Did you have a lucky break financially? Some of you would have. But not when Saturn's squaring from the second house. I don't think so. I think Saturn squaring is like, you got to get realistic about your expenses. If you're living expecting to win the lottery, this is a no-go. There's something about Saturn is like, let's get serious, realistic about our earnings, our money, our savings, our possessions. Let's start tabulating, abacus counting. Let's get the bookkeeper in here. And Saturn here is also in his fall. So he's also not happy doing that. He'd rather just be recklessly spending or something like that. But no, he's got to like work it here. So you're going to be more cautious around money and less exuberant around risk-taking around money during this time. This is the month of June. It's pretty exact around mid-June, the 14th, 15th. You might feel constricted around money and your children. Like one of your children could be going through a financial hardship, and you might have some constriction and constraint in the month of June regarding that. Maybe you're being tasked to support them, or they're just going through money hardship and you're watching on the sidelines. But not to fret, because the Saturn Jupiter square will not continue. And it's just a blip in the radar. Yet Saturn says all year long and for 3 years, save your money, put structures in place to keep more money, be serious about your money, grow up about your money, for example. Also, you may feel like with Saturn here, depending on your age, your face is getting too old for you. Like the old elder is in the house of the face, your teeth, your nose, your face, and you're like, oh my God, I need rejuvenation. Maybe that happens too. You may also constrict your food style with Saturn here, but because Jupiter isn't what brings people joy and pleasure, Jupiter's like, I'm drinking all of the wine. I'm going to have ice cream every day. I'm going to enjoy my life. And Saturn says, no, this is the month of June especially. No, get serious. You're going to get fat or whatever. Eat healthy. Don't do that. Constrict and constrain the food style. Now, in the month of August and September, this is exact on September 4th, but so it's really kind of mid-August and mid-September, but August, September, you're going to find a once in a lifetime, not seen since 1895, glow up between your creativity, your entrepreneurship, your art, your children, your fertility, your pregnancy storylines, your grandchildren's storylines. This glow up is happening. Beautiful glow up as you achieve worldly success in your sun, which is your career, in your moon, which is your home and home life matters, or in your rising sign, any part of your life. Because the North Node's expanding you. It's in a destined, fated, like focus on you for a change, right? Like expand me, reach for the stars, find my highest worldly success, strive to achieve, play the game of life hard, right? You're expanding, you're wanting to play it. And Jupiter says, yes, I'll bring you some luck. I'll bring you some good fortune. I'll bring you some lucky breaks. And this is definitely children and grandchildren. So if you can make babies, you're going to make babies. If you can't, your kids can make babies, especially in November. A new moon will happen in your 9th house. And you'll also have a Mars moving around up there as well. Look for like babies and grandbabies coming through the sky. This fall is a possibility. I love the way the vibe is, though, for the artistic and entrepreneurial Pisceans of the world, and good for book publishing and book publishing deals. I won't go into all the reasons why, but it's really good for the spirit of enjoying your life, at being successful and feeling yourself on top of the world. Okay. So there's got to be a song for that. Kind of got the Eminem song, once in a lifetime. Dun, dun, dun. I can't. Once in a lifetime. You know that song? Oh, it's kind of like you got to take advantage of this. You can be so successful now in ways you've never been able to do before. Let go of that marriage partner, a South Node in the 7th. You don't have to get rid of them, but like let's focus on what they need and what they want. It's about you. It's about you. If you have a marriage partner, if you don't, you could get a soulmate for a season, reason, and a time coming into your romantic life. Jupiter, South Node. Yeah. And this Jupiter transit can bring you a romantic, spiritual love partner of a lifetime as well. Whew. Done. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe. This is the extra. I don't have much time because I've got people coming for dinner and I haven't even gotten off my recording studio, but let me think about what the extra is about today. Oh, I don't know. You know what? Jupiter in Cancer is going to amplify the United States sun. The sun of the United States is on the dog star Sirius in around 13 degrees of Cancer. And because Jupiter is going to be activating that, not just during the exact transit, because of retrograde, probably 3 times, it just means that no matter how deeply dark and difficult the United States is these days with the tariffs and all the turbulence and the political strife and stuff like that going on in the country across from me, down below me, I'm Canadian. I can't imagine Jupiter's exaltation of the United States sun is going to be a difficult story. And it's and with the North Node of Fate traveling through Pisces, which for the United States of America, the sun of the United States is in the 8th house, which involves markets, stock markets, banks, and loans and industries like that. So that's where the United States natal sun is sitting, in the sign of Cancer. But for the United States natal Sibley chart, okay, so I'm talking about the Sibley chart, United States Sibley chart, the energy is, oh my God, my brain, they're a Sagittarius rising. Yeah. And that means that the Pisces real estate is the 4th house. Now, for you Democrats, you're going to love this because you're out of power. And that means you get to own the Pisces real estate of the United States sky right now. So there can be a real glow up in August, September into just, into the end of the year for the Democratic Party. And I don't know when you guys have midterms and stuff. I don't know enough about your electoral cycle. I should, but I don't. But it whatever means, could be a greater popular appeal or increase of success amongst the Democrats, who have been pretty well down and out for the count since the election. But also for the United States, the Pisces part of the chart, the 4th house, represents property, land, real estate. And of course, it could be an increase of good things in the housing market, because the moon / like the idea of Cancer is a lunar story. And it could indicate there's going to be an increase of good things happening in the United States housing market. That's one possibility, or the banking industry, or the territorial home and homeland. Now, this is where it gets dicey, because the North Node would say expand your homeland. And that would be like taking Greenland or the Panama Canal or the 51st state. I don't think it's us. And so the United States may expand its home and homeland. Now, don't forget, 1895, this transit happened before. And I'll go back and look at that when I do a deeper dive on the politics of this. Maybe the United States was busy expanding its land back then. There might have been that. And yet, land, property, and people and housing may be a positive story for the United States, June of this year to next year. Now, you can go back and compare just a simple transit, the basic transit of what happened when Jupiter goes over the United States moon in the United States Sibley 8th house on the regular, 13, 14, 2000 and 2001. Now, 2001 and 2 was the 9/11 debacle. And the stock markets tanked when Jupiter was over the sun in the United States in the Sibley 8th house, but then they bounced back again as well. So exaltation, remember I said in the beginning, a planet can be exalted on a pedestal and they can easily just as well fall as they can rise to power, they can fall from power. So, but that kind of fall, like a black swan event, usually bounces back pretty quickly, which it did, by the way, post 9/11. Okay, that's my extra, is to say, I want to remind us that Jupiter will transit in political systems for the United States or Canada in very certain places that should look good on our certain countries. And that's all I got. I really didn't plan an extra about anything super mystical, because I'm having such a busy day getting this place ready for the showings and the photographs and the people coming through and the open houses and all that stuff. I'm actually happy to move. I don't mind moving too much sometimes, and I got an ideal thing that fell into my lap. Don't forget, come to Sky Reader this July, 6 weeks together, be your own astrologer, time your best life. Grab my $33 All Signs bundle. Hats half price. You want to get that now, it's in my description box below. I'll see you guys on my next video. This should be coming out on Thursday. And then on Sunday, I do my All Signs drop coming up after this. And I'll be doing a preview of the Gemini moon video on Saturday with a guest on my channel. So I've got some videos coming up right away after this. I'll see you guys soon. Take care and enjoy the Jupiter ride.